Stream Apple's iPhone event at streamapple.live. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Tomorrow is the big day. It's Apple's annual iPhone event. So let's talk a little bit about that. Again, it's taking place on September 14th, starts at 10 a.m. in the morning Pacific time. If you guys are gonna watch it like me, check the first link in this video's description. Now, just like the past couple events, it's going to be an entirely digital event. Basically, Apple has recorded it all across the Apple Park campus, and it's going to showcase this year's iPhone, presumably the iPhone 13, the next generation of the Apple Watch, and potentially the third generation of AirPods. So those are pretty much the three rumored things that we're likely to see tomorrow. There could be a couple other surprise events like, the rollout of a new Mac or a new iPad. But my guess is those new products will be coming later this year in either an October or November event. This event in September is the iPhone event. It's primarily going to be focused on the iPhone. Typically, Apple Watches are included in this event. And, for the one more thing, it could be a new generation of AirPods. So let's talk a little bit about what's expected with this year's iPhone. Presumably, it's going to be called the iPhone 13, and with this release, it's going to feel more like an S year, a year of refinements and updating some of the processor speed and cameras, but we're not likely to see a new design. It's going to be this boxy shape that the iPhones and iPads are now adopting. So the big one this year is the notch at the top of the iPhone is likely to get smaller and or disappear entirely. I saw an update come out last week or so that Apple might be just going for the full hole punch design, similar to the Samsung phones. But the cool thing, what this means is either A, if the notch gets smaller, Apple is working on condensing their Face ID technology. If it goes to a hole punch design for the camera, that means all of the Face ID technology is going to be embedded underneath the screen. So that would just be insane if that happened. So while we're talking about the screen, another big update to it is that it could be getting the 120 Hertz ProMotion display. That is what I've been waiting for multiple years now. It's going to be the same refresh rate as the iPad Pros. If you guys have ever used those before, you'll know what I'm talking about when you're swiping left and right between apps, when you have any type of animation happening on your iPhone. It's so much smoother and easier on your eyes. Scrolling in Safari, things like that. Really excited for the ProMotion display. And with this, Apple's going to be implementing their LTPO technology that's in the Apple Watch currently. Basically, what this lets you do is when you're playing like a demanding game that's refreshing at 120 Hertz, or when you're on the home screen swiping back and forth, the refresh rate can ramp up to 120. If you're watching a movie that's typically filmed in like 24 frames per second, the refresh rate of the display can come down to save battery life. And also what this means is on the lock screen, or when you lock your device, there will be an always-on display, which I have honestly wanted since, I don't even know, quite a few years now. My girlfriend has a Google Pixel, and I think it looks awesome. I really hope that's coming this year in the iPhone. The cool thing about it is, just like the Apple Watch, the display will only have to update once every 60 seconds. So that's how battery life is saved, and or if you get a notification or something like that. So with the ProMotion display, the smaller notch, the one thing we're not likely to see is Touch ID embedded underneath the screen. It sounds like Apple's focusing on Face ID more. I personally wouldn't be too mad if they put the fingerprint sensor in the side or power button, similar to how they did it on the new entry-level iPad. That's better because sometimes Face ID doesn't work. And even with iOS 14.5's feature where you can unlock your iPhone if you have your watch unlocked, I just still think Touch ID was always easier. So the big question this year, I'll be really curious to see what happens, is how many iPhone models we're actually going to see. The iPhone 12, we saw 4, the Mini, the 12, the Pro, the Max. and the mini just sold horribly. Surprisingly, I really liked it, but I obviously, as you can see, I didn't keep one of those. So I like the bigger phones. I always get the Max, which is, crazy expensive every year, but still, it was an awesome little phone that I'm surprised more people didn't like. Anyway, if you guys are in the market for a new phone, even if you're not going to get the iPhone 13, I would wait, a couple weeks until the 13's out, because the iPhone 12 lineup is going to drop in price then. The last big feature I thought was worth mentioning is a big focus on cameras this year. The cameras on the Pro models, at least, are getting even bigger. And there's a rumor suggesting that astrophotography is going to be a new highlighted feature in the Keynote. And so pretty much we are focusing on a better display, smaller notch, bigger cameras, and of course we're going to see a faster processor, even though I don't really know what a faster processor does at this point. So moving on to the next topic, the Apple Watch. And this year, we're likely to see the Series 7 debut. Supposedly, the Apple Watch is going to receive the biggest design update and change since its release. The edges are going to be flattened out like the iPhones are and the iPads. And it will be really interesting to see what Apple actually releases. At least that's what the rumor is, that this is happening. And I've seen renders online. You can look them up. And it looks awesome in the photo. But in practice, this doesn't seem practical for the Apple Watch, that it would be comfortable. I'm really curious to hear everyone's thoughts of if that's a good idea or not. I don't know. I'm still sitting here like, the iPhone 6S or 6 to the iPhone 11 with the curved edges, that felt more comfortable in my hand than the iPhone 12. In an ideal world, what I would love to see is a design actually like the battery pack, where the front is flat and then the back is a slight curve. It's not bowed on both sides. It's like this. It reminds me of like the iPod Touches or like the iPhone, the original design to the 3GS. That was probably my favorite because you got the best of both worlds. You got this flat look on the front and you got the curved grip in the back. So that is the major change with the Apple Watch. The screens are getting slightly bigger from a 40 to 41 millimeter and then from a 44 to a 45 millimeter. And then lastly, we're likely to see the third generation of AirPods. Now this is for the regular AirPods, not the Pros, but supposedly the regular ones are going to start looking more like the Pros. The stems are going to get shorter. The only thing missing is you won't have the silicone tips on the regular ones, but it's been 2 years since the second generation AirPods came out, so we're likely due an update there. So hopefully a new design, better battery life, and then the third one is I could see spatial audio support coming to the regular AirPods as well too, like they are in the Pros. Probably won't have noise canceling, but I could see spatial audio being added. And then lastly, Macs, iPads, anything else? What is there one more thing in this event? And my gut reaction is probably not. I mean, we're going to have a packed event with iPhones, Apple Watches, and AirPods. Now, Apple's 2-year window that they said they would have their entire Mac lineup over to Apple Silicon is actually coming up to an end this coming June of 2022. So in the next 10 months or so at most, we are going to see 3 new Apple computers released: an iMac Pro, a Mac Pro, and a MacBook Pro. So it's all of the Pro lineups are going to be announced at least in the next 10 months. And I'm guessing we're going to see one of those by the end of the year. But the long story short is we're likely to see another event by Apple before the end of the year announcing some of this other stuff. Now, to conclude this video, at the very end of Apple's conference, iOS 15 will be released to the public probably around noon to 1 again on September 14th. So stay tuned if you guys are updating to that. If you're jailbreaking or anything like that, don't update to iOS 15. But yeah, along with iOS 15, iPadOS 15 is also being released too. So that's what we're likely to expect on Tuesday. Again, stay tuned and look for some awesome content coming out right after the event. Thank you guys so much for stopping by today. Again, if you want to stream tomorrow's event live, go to streamapple.live. Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. I'll catch you real soon. But until next time, this is Tony, signing out.